Thanks very much, Simon. Yes, here we go then, up for another race to see whether Honda can do it again, Tim. Good win from Gordon earlier.
It was, but we saw from Jason Plato how hard it is to carry maximum ballast through the race here. So Gordon's going to have to be really on top of his game to do this, because 45 kilos is a big effect on the car.
It definitely does, and some serious little hills to worry about here at Knockhill. Gordon Shedden starting on pole position then, with Alex McDowell on that front row alongside in the Chevy. That's also carrying weight. That's now got 36 kilograms on board, but I did see Alex's dad earlier very happy with the way that he performed to get that second place. You know, it's a confidence boosting result for him.
Yeah, it was. He was beaten by the slightly quicker man on his home track on the day, but a very good performance, as you say, and he's going to have to learn how to deal with 36 kilos of weight, which is not an insignificant sum as well. So, you know, for my money, Stephen Kane started in third. We saw how quick the BMW was at the end of the race, and also Jason Plato, now with zero ballast, is going to be very quick. So depending on what happens at the start of this race, they could be two to look out for.
Definitely. Here we go then, first of two formation laps as they head away onto this one around a 1.3 mile track, and it is Gordon Shedden then on pole position, who's going to try and make it 2 out of 2. He's done it already this year earlier on in the season, but can he do it here? That's the big question mark. And then alongside him on the front row of that grid, Alex McDowell, the youngster in the Silverline Chevrolet Cruze. And, well, we've seen his pace in qualifying. Can he repeat it in the race now? Stephen Kane with the fast-starting BMW. He'll hope, anyway, the Airways car. Matt Neal alongside him on that second row of the grid. Then Tom Chilton in the first of the Team Aon Focuses. And Jason Plato on row 3 in his Chevrolet. Tom Onslow Cold on the Focus. Paul O'Neill next up on that fourth row. Andrew Jordan in the Pertec Racing car with Matt Jackson, who had an eventful time in the first race. He's on the fifth row. David Pinkney on row 6 with Andy Neat in the WSR BMW. And further back, Sean Hollenby and Jeff Smith. Jeff Smith in the second race of his touring car career. Tom Boorman has got the same engine in, as he had an overheating problem earlier on after he hit one of the banners out on circuit, but they have got that car up and running. Rob Collard and his WSR entries back on row 8. And then at the back we've got James Nash and John George. I gather there was a bit of a penalty, Tim, wasn't there, for Matt Jackson in the contact he had with James Nash?
Yeah, we saw the instance at the first corner where he tipped Nash into a spin, and he's received a fine and points on his licence for that. So a small slap on the wrist by touring car standards.
Well, that's fair enough. Cars making their way around on the first of these two formation laps, and we mentioned Tom Onslow Cole starting on the fourth row. Simon was speaking to him just a moment ago about this opportunity that he's got. Let's have a quick word with him as he's now warming the car up. Tom, this is Ben in the commentary box. Obviously getting the car warmed up. Hi. Where is the Focus looking good, and where are your rivals perhaps got the edge here at Knockhill?
At the moment in the last race, we seem to be very quick at the start of the race through, well, where I am now actually, through turn 1, turn 2 and down the bottom of the hill here. But where we seem to really struggle is over the jump through the chicane, and definitely for the braking in the hairpin. So it's a bit of a mix.
And of course, braking for the hairpin is one of the few overtaking opportunities here, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very tough to actually get past here, and obviously the hairpin is one of the main ones. So being weak there really does hurt our lap, but you can defend it, and we're going to give it our best shot at trying to move forward in this one.
Okay, Tom, thanks for that. Have a great race. And we'll see how he gets on. So there he is, busy warming the car up and getting some temperature. Weather conditions still pretty good here, Tim. We've got a little bit of cloud around, but sun poking through every now and then.
Yeah, the ambience come up 3 or 4 degrees, but still cool, still a bit of a breeze. And I mean, it's we saw some tyre deterioration, very little really, considering how hard this track is on the front-wheel drive cars. But you have got to expect that the BMWs will be a bit stronger in the second half of the race.
Well, let's see whether Stephen Kane can continue his forward march. He starts third on the grid this time in the Airwaves car, but it's Gordon Shedden who leads them up onto the grid here. It's a tricky grid, this one, because you're sort of going uphill, particularly if you're not right up at the front. Everybody moving into position. Easy to let the car roll backwards when you're a bit further down that hill. Hopefully that won't happen to anybody. So Shedden and McDowell up on that front row. Along, and then just behind them, Stephen Kane with the yellow-fronted BMW. Then it's Matt Neal. Go back to row 3, and you'll see Tom Chilton and Jason Plato. And Jason Plato is the first of those lead cars not to be carrying any ballast. Right, All set then. Here we go. Round 24 of the Dunlop MSA British Touring Car Championship. It's all set to get underway in front of a packed house here at Knockhill, just down the road from Edinburgh in Scotland. Lights out, here we go again, and it's Gordon Shedden. Terrible start by McDowell. McDowell getting right out of the way. He realised he'd made a bad start. Shedden leads, Matt Neal in second place, Stephen Kane in third. Yeah, McDowell possibly with a problem because he really did pull out of the way very abruptly, but Shedden got the car away very well indeed. Oh, Pigney sideways. Yeah, he's got off. He might have avoided the others, I'm not sure, but that's a real shame for David Pigney. The rest of them fighting their way up over the John O'Weir chicane. The two Vauxhalls running together, black Vauxhalls, the 888 cars, line astern. Middle of the pack, you've got Paul O'Neill and Andrew Jordan, but up front, oh, it is Collard off as well as Pigney. What a shame. Yeah, I think Pigney lost it on the grass coming down the dip and just collected Collard with nowhere to go. More dust being kicked up, but it's Gordon Shedden leading. Matt Neal second, Stephen Kane, Tom Chilton ahead of Plato, then Onslow Cole, then McDowell, whose car seems to be running all right now, but for some reason he had a real problem getting off the line. For the second time this year he's had a big problem off the line, but we don't know what it is just yet. And safety car is out. If you're wondering why suddenly it all looks a bit strange, it's the safety car has gathered them together once again. So Tim, we're in for a bit of a safety car running today. Yeah, those cars obviously just in the gravel at the bottom of the hill in quite a dangerous place, so they need to be moved as quickly as possible. The marshals, well, the Dr. Paul Trafford there just having a word with Dave Pickney, who's still in the car, so I'm sure David's hopefully okay, but they're just being prudent, I think. But we haven't seen quite how that happened, but clearly the cars need to be moved. Well, let's go back. Let's start with the very initial getaway, and it was McDowell on the right, on the front row. What happened here? Well, he almost stalls the car because it jumps and stops, and I think he pulled the right thinking he'd stalled the left thinking he'd stalled the car, and obviously everyone else got away in front, and then we get to the watch just in the background there. Pinkney just behind Collard, comes round, gets on the grass, and he's going to spear into Collard there just as it goes out of shot. Yeah, so he put a wheel on the grass, that the cold right rear tyre just perhaps catching him out. So he came down the hill. Look at top left of the screen here. He might catch something. There, you can only just see it really. That was almost finished by that point. But Pinkney and Collard both off in the gravel trap at Scotsman Corner. And a number of fans will have got a view. There's David, he's out of the car, so that's good news. That's always the most important thing, of course. Yeah, the pink piranha mascot he's got on the truck and the car has not brought him any change in fortunes, unfortunately. But no. The game 57-year-old will be back out, I'm sure, in the last race. well, let's hope so. Let's hope we see him again. But it's a shame we've lost Rob Collard because we were expecting him to fight through from the back of the grid as well. He was back on the 8th row of the grid, but obviously it's not going to be much luck. In fact, for the second year running for Rob Collard, last year he got tangled up with Matt Neal, if you remember, up at this part of the circuit in the first race, and then never scored any points from then on in. So a great pity. But that's the nature of Knockhill. It can be very cruel or not, or kind in the space of an instant. I mean, Rob Collard famously won a race here back in the MG, and it's always been a good circuit. But in an instant, through no fault of his own, he can be taken out. Yeah, that's it. As you say, it is part of the nature of this place. Again, let's just take a look at the start. This is on board Tom Onslow Cole. You see the Chevy of McDowell on the left being passed by everybody, including his teammate Plato going past. Then Onslow Cole himself going past. A little bit of a touch between Chilton and Plato. Yeah, nothing really out of the ordinary there. Plato just making sure he moved across in front of Onslow Cole to block him off, but just caught the back of Chilton's car, but no damage done there. Good clean start from all of those cars. This is on board with Plato again, and he can see the gap opening up nicely for him there. He's hoping maybe to get in front of Onslow Cole on his right, but realises that isn't going to happen. It's more important to get back in line than it is to duke it out round the outside and risk going off. Yeah, no, absolutely right. And he dealt with that nicely, no problems at all. So that was on board Plato. So let's hope that everything has been sorted out down there. We should be able to get everything underway once again. There is Rob Collard. Oh, and I gather apparently the car actually has sustained more damage in being recovered from the gravel trap, so that's why Rob's looking particularly disgruntled. Well, it's bad enough when your car's damaged in the gravel, but
you know, I mean, the marshals do a very good job, and they're obviously being pushed and urged to move the cars as quickly as possible, but it may have been accidental. Let's see what happens. Oh, they're pulling the car backwards. Obviously, the steering is broken, so they're pulling it at some pace there, actually, considering, and then bang into the wall. Well, oops. Yeah, they perhaps could have been a little bit more careful with that one.
As you say, desperately trying to get everything up and running as quickly as possible, but Rob was in the car at this point, so of course he had to get out of the car. Let's just see what was his reaction. I don't think he was very happy. No. What have you done to the back of my car?
Have you got a license to drive that safety car, I think, or that recovery vehicle? But
can I have your insurance details, please, sir?
I think it's relatively minor considering the damage that Rob usually inflicts on his car. I'm sure the West Surrey crew will polish that one out.
So, meanwhile, the safety car's still out on circuit. Gordon Shedden is our race leader. It's a Honda racing 1-2 at the moment, if they can hold it that way, with Matt Neal in second. We've still got Stephen Kane in third, Tom Chilton in fourth place. Meanwhile, Plato in fifth. Onslow Cole is in sixth place. Let's have another quick word with Tom. Tom, you had a pretty good start there. Now safety car obviously on the scene, so can you pick off a few more once it restarts?
Yeah, not too bad. Didn't get a great launch off the line as in race one, but not a bad start. I think McDowell behind me obviously bogged down and had a bit of a nightmare there, but he was quick in race one, so I've got to keep my eye on him. But the car at the moment it feels pretty sharp, so hopefully we can try and move forward.
Great. Well, hope so. Hope it works for you. So there we go, Tom Onslow Cole saying it feels sharp, and of course he's got less weight, he's got zero weight on. He came into the first race carrying 36 kilos, and that's the difference it makes, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. The car feels more responsive. You know, you touch on the steering wheel and the car wants to change direction better. It wants to stop easier and accelerate that bit freer. That's what he means. It feels sharp. He means it's just lost 36 kilos and it's more alive in his hands.
Yep, there's the damage to David Pinkney's car. As we've seen, both drivers are perfectly okay, Rob Collard and Dave Pinkney, but their cars are going to need a bit of work done before the third and final race today. You can see Collard's car in the background, and it's taking a little longer than hoped to get these cars out of the way. So Rob's still studying the back-end damage on his BMW before jumping over the barrier, and hoping that car will get returned to the pits in the not too distant future. Otherwise they lose valuable repair time.
Yeah, well, if it wasn't for that broken steering, he'd obviously jump in and drive it back. Even though, but this is going onto the flatbed truck, but it's not really very well lined up, is it?
No, it might not be going on a flatbed truck looking at that.
And now they won't be able to push it forward, so they have to move the truck, and it'll go on. It'll go on.
Yeah,
the crowd will be enjoying this, I'm sure.
Yeah, there'll be fun down for the fans there. Get nice and close to the track here at Knockhill. Oh, that's an idea. We'll move the truck, and then we'll get it lined up. I think everybody's having a bit of a laugh down in pit lane at the moment at this, as these cars are moved out of the way, and the drivers, meanwhile, following the safety car, thinking, "Come on, guys, let's get on with it. We want to go racing again."
Now that looks quite well lined up now. Let's give that a go. Oh, the winch is broken.
When it can go wrong, it will go wrong, particularly when you're on live TV, you can guarantee it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Dave will enjoy this because obviously this is great publicity for him and his car project warranties car. He'll be loving it.
Well, the other cars are keeping their tyres up to temperature as they follow on round behind the safety car. VW Golf towards the back there is Sean Hollenby. There we are. Nice to see, and there's Rob Collard, just looking a bit fed up still, but nothing he can do about it. He's just going to have to stand and wait for his lift back to the pits later on, I think. Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is actually, he will be disappointed because the BMWs were looking very strong in the second half of the race. This little safety car, although it will have given the front-wheel drive cars a few sort of extra laps grace on their tyres, it would have also helped the BMWs get their tyres up to temperature quicker. So we'll have to see on the restart just how good their pace is.
So let's just watch these guys come through. The VW Golf I just mentioned there, and there's John George just behind him in the second of the sunshine.co.uk cars. He ran a marathon last weekend, apparently, did John George, so he's been a busy boy. He flew up here, of course, as he always does from Guernsey. He flies his own plane. But the Golf ahead of him, I was talking to Sean Hollenby earlier, and he's pretty much made the decision to go to a 2-litre turbo engine in that car for next year. They are down on straight line speed at Silverstone. He was down by about 6 miles an hour on some of the other cars, but it's his first season, still really getting to grips with it. and he feels as though he's learnt a huge amount this year, Tim.
Yeah, I think they have. The team have done very well. You know, they've learned about the intricacies and procedures and everything else about going touring car racing. He's got a feel for that car, and clearly the cost of them developing their own engine to be competitive would be huge. So they might as well bite the bullet a bit like Eurotech and Jordan have done, and Dave Pinkney, and fit that engine in. And of course Tom Boardman, whose engine seems to have suffered no ill effects of that boiling in the first race.
No, it seems to be okay. He's just ahead of them on the in that queue at the moment. Boardman, he's running in 14th position in the black Seat with the Union flag proudly displayed on the roof. The rest of them climbing up over the chicane at a somewhat reduced pace to earlier on. You've got the two black Vauxhalls of Jeff Smith actually ahead of James Nash. Of course, James Nash got knocked out in the first race. So it's the debutant Jeff Smith there in car 15, who's ahead of his teammate James Nash, who is the more experienced of the pairing, obviously, having done this full season. Of course, remember, he led at Snetterton in race 3, only to sadly go off the road at Rich's fairly high-speed spin he had there. Meanwhile, safety car lights are out, and we are getting ready to go racing once again, by the looks of things. Gordon Shedden is the race leader, and he gets on the gas as they climb up the hill once again, and we go racing once more at Knockhill. It's Gordon Shedden leading, Matt Neal in second place, but then the BMW of Stephen Kane in third. And as we saw in the first race, that BMW could get better and better as the race progresses.
Yeah, Onslow Cole actually ran into the back of Plato on the just coming up to the hairpin before the restart as the field bunched up. Only very minor, but nevertheless it won't have pleased Plato.
No, absolutely not. You won't be too impressed by that, but as you say, doesn't seem to have done any damage. Shedden, with the maximum ballast on board, is holding on to the lead at the moment from his teammate Matt Neal, which is carrying some 18 kilos. Stephen Kane carrying 27 kilos, but still tucked in behind those two Hondas. Then it's Tom Chilton with the LPG turbo-powered Ford Focus. He goes to the outside on the approach to the hairpin, chased by Plato. Onto Cole, McDowell and O'Neill getting together there at the hairpin.
Yeah, a very aggressive move there by Paul O'Neill. He's really determined to make the best use of his car this weekend. Well, one of the best things about that car is we know how strong it is, and he certainly used that.
Well, yeah, he's making the most of that, as you say. Stephen Kane coming under a bit more pressure now from Tom Chilton in the battle for third place. I don't know what happened to Kane there. He was right with the two Hondas a moment ago, but suddenly he's now fighting for survival in third place with Chilton and Plato sort of breathing down his neck.
Yeah, he was very close to them, and so must have had a misgear or lost some traction out the hairpin. But Matt Neal using his usual preferred tighter lines into the corner. This is not necessarily a look to overtake, but it's just Matt's natural lines. You'll see again here at the chicane. He is trying to pass, and he's through.
He's down the inside, Matt Neal's taking the lead, but he might be passed on the exit. No, Shedden can't get back at him. That was a great lunge by Matt Neal. Gordon Shedden was never going to shut the door, but I don't think that was team orders. That was purely Matt Neal deciding to go for the inside, I would say.
Yeah, great thing about this team is they don't have team orders, unlike some we can mention. Oh, Shedden really sideways through turn 1. And Matt had to fight for that pass, locking the wheels up, a real good lunge. He came out in the middle of the road just to protect the cutback from Shedden, and really good racing from these two.
And a lot of that might be explained by the weight. Don't forget, Gordon Shedden carrying the 45 kilos, Matt Neal on 18, and it's under braking where that can have such a big effect.
Yeah, watch this from behind, from the back of Shedden's car. Later braking by Matt, then slipping up the inside. Shedden looks to come back, but there's no opportunity. Here you see it from the outside. Matt initially on the outside, but they're just ducking under, little lock up, just using a bit of banking at the hairpin to slow the car down the last touch. Yeah,
no, that was a good move by Matt Neal. Remember, there's only 2 points separating these two at the moment. They lie third in the championship, but close behind Tom Onslow Cole, and Onslow Cole's down in 6th place at the moment, so there's a good chance for both Matt Neal and Gordon Shedden to become Plato's nearest challengers once again. Oh, Matt Neal a little bit wayward there, a little bit leery through the first Seat curves.
Yeah, well, it was Shedden last time through that corner, and this time it was Matt Neal getting offline.
These two still have made a break, though, from Stephen Kane in third place, Tom Chilton in fourth, riding on board with Gordon Shedden now. Let's watch him as he follows his teammate up through Clark, the right-hander, just rising uphill slightly, running over the curb, and then onto the back stretch here, down towards that hairpin once again.
Yeah, I mean, Matt has got that slight weight advantage, so he should be better on the brakes all the time anyway. And interesting line there. I mean, he's just braking in the middle of the road, really, not maximising the width of the corner at all, as you'd expect from sort of traditional racing lines. But Matt has his car set up so it'll turn still on a dime, and he'll still get a good exit.
Yeah, he is amazing. He always goes in using less road than most of the others. Turns into the first corner similarly, but Shedden chasing him down there. He's not going to give up on this, Shedden. He's staying in the wheel tracks of his teammate, but Honda Racing, Tim, really having it much more their own way. They did struggle a bit at Silverstone, despite...
the last two races, Silverstone and Snetterton, are the two out-and-out power circuits, and it's not as though these cars don't have the horsepower. They've actually developed a slightly better engine with a couple more horsepower from Neil Brown, but it's purely and simply aerodynamics. The car is not long, it's a hatchback, has a lot of drag, there's nothing they can do about that, so they're always going to suffer slightly on the longer straights.
Meanwhile, not much change behind them. That's Thomas Cole and Paul O'Neill, and we've seen how aggressive O'Neill's being already. So whether he's going to have a bit more of a go here at getting past Tom Onslow Cole. Jackson is running 8th. Jordan is in 9th place at the moment. Here we go, side by side. Paul O'Neill down the inside of Onslow Cole. Onslow Cole trying to battle it on the brakes, but he can't do it. And Paul O'Neill is up another one. That's put him into 6th place.
Yeah, that was a great move, wasn't it? Because
he's got a bit wide there.
He's okay. As long as he gets back in for Butchers, he's okay. But a good pass there, because we know how fast the Ford is, and really Paul O'Neill had to hook it up at the exit of the hairpin really well to get that drive.
Shedden still chasing Matt Neal for that lead at the moment, and Stephen Kane has closed that gap up once again. So it's Matt Neal in the Honda versus his teammate Gordon Shedden, then the Airways BMW of Stephen Kane. Chilton and Plato follow, then it's O'Neill who's got himself to the front of that next group, so I wonder if he's going to be able to close up. Chilton has fastest lap in the race at the moment. Meanwhile, Matt Jackson is the one now putting Onslow Cole under pressure, but I think Onslow Cole's managed to cover that in time up the hill. Yeah,
look at Gordon Shedden's left-hand wing mirror. He's knocked it flat against the tyres at the chicane, and so he can't see out of that mirror, but I think any onslaught from Kane's going to come down the right-hand side anyway.
Yeah, but I'm sure Stephen will try and take advantage of that if he possibly can.
Yeah, definitely.
Up they come out of the chicane again, teetering on the edge of disaster every time through there, as they just run their wheels here too. Quite often they run their wheels almost into the gravel. Fantastic to watch. These guys are flat out and with no pause for breath around this Knockhill circuit. Down to the hairpin they come once again. So easy to run too deep into this corner. Little lock up from Matt Neal, but he keeps it tidy. Plato looking threatening now.
Yeah, Plato trying to get up the inside of Chilton. This is a battle that's going to run because there's plenty of laps to go, and I think Jackson's got a good car. Kane's got a good car in that third place BMW, as we thought, with the tyres working well now. He's the two Hondas are not getting away from him.
No, absolutely. Back on board with Gordon Shedden with the bumper camera looking at his teammate, Matt Neal. That's getting a pretty close through there. Now through Butchers, up over the chicane they come. Watch them cut to the right, over the curb, over the dirt, over the curb again. Everywhere around this circuit you use more than seems available. Again, that early turn in from Matt Neal.
Yeah, very noticeable there, but he still gets to good exit, which is the thing that is always surprising about Matt's style. Normally if you go in tight like that, you run out wide, but Matt gets the car turn and gets good exit. And again, braking in the middle of the road, turning tight and getting good exit.
Paul O'Neill just getting away a little bit from Tom Onslow Cole. Then Jackson and Jordan in there with McDowell down in 10th place. Chilton's fastest lap was on lap 11, so that was 5 laps ago at the moment. And O'Neill lapping about the same pace as the lead group, but not really any quicker. I thought he might be able to close that gap, but I'm not sure he will. Shedden getting very close to the back of Matt Neal again.
Yeah, I think Shedden's, probably coping with the weight better than Matt at the moment. Oh, again, hitting those tyres. Now the wing mirror's gone completely. But Kane was 2/10 quicker than both the Hondas on the last lap, and I'm sure Matt Neal's holding them up a fraction.
This is good stuff from Stephen Kane, sitting third. He's looking very threatening now on Gordon Shedden, and he's playing a good patient game so far in the 2 races that we've watched. Very consistent Stephen Kane has been this year, and he's been in the points at virtually every race, every meeting. He's only had a couple of disappointments in that respect. A lot of podium finishes, of course, as well in the early part of the season, and now he's closing to these 2 Hondas. But can he attack? Still a little way to go. We're on lap 18 out of 27.
It's going to be difficult for Stephen to find a way round without an obvious mistake, because there's no real place where that BMW is demonstrably quicker than the Honda. It just has a fraction of extra grip all round the track at this moment. But again, through the chicane there, you can see he runs wide, loses a little bit to the front-wheel drive cars. It's going to be hard for him to pass without either getting aggressive and physical or a mistake from Gordon.
He wants to look for that traction out of the hairpin, I suppose, use that rear-wheel drive of his up the hill. He might be able to use it with both these Hondas carrying a little bit of weight. Matt Neal, as you say, though, seems to be struggling a bit more now as the race progresses. This is an opportunity for Stephen Kane. He's not quite close enough to get alongside here. Tom Chilton and Jason Plato are right there with them, and this is becoming a five-way tussle now. Plato will be very happy to be on the back of this group.
Yeah, he's going to wait. You know what Jason's like. He'll sit there and just watch things unravel in front of him for a few laps. He doesn't have to get pushy or do anything too anxious, because if he pushes past one car or two cars, he's then in the middle of the danger zone. So he might as well let the others fight it out for a little bit and then pick up if he can later on.
Was that a wing mirror gone for Matt Neal?
That was Matt Neal's now, yes.
Yeah.
Look, they both lost their left-hand wing mirrors.
It's amazing, isn't it, that they're driving to that margin where they're actually clipping those bails with their wing mirrors just because that's how hard they're pushing.
Well, you know, a driver will use every inch that he can, and you know, if you can go as close to that left-hand tyre wall as possible, you can open up the exit of the chicane.
Plato having a deep line into the hairpin to look for the cut back, but no way past Chilton just yet. Paul O'Neill still trying to catch that group ahead of him, but he's still let's just see what's the gap. It was 2.5, it's now 2.3, so he's gained a little bit, but not by as much as he wants. Those Hondas still look pretty tail happy into the first corner.
Yeah, they do. I mean, on a tight circuit like this, you set up a front-wheel drive car to be a little bit oversteery, tail happy as you call it, just to help them change. Oh, look at Shedden! How much did he take there? Matt Neal's had a bit of a slide on the exit, but Shedden was using a lot more of the inside there.
He was all four wheels across the grass there, but Matt Neal ran wide and thought that could have been a change, but actually, look, Stephen Kane is the one who's anybody's gained out of this, because the BMWs, they're right with him again now. Now, what he wants is to force Shedden to go in tight. He doesn't quite manage that, and he's not going to get the run off the corner he needs.
No, they're all sort of half defending, aren't they, as they go up to the real radio hairpin.
Anxiety down there in the pits, the Chevy team.
RML and then Team Dynamics in sharing the every moment of this race.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really close tussle, full pressure for all these guys here. They are driving at the limit at every opportunity, and around this Knockhill circuit it is so easy to make the tiny little mistake that can affect the outcome. Over the curbs they go. Look at that, Matt Neal not as sideways this time as he was last time.
A little bit better, wasn't it? And in fact, when you get the car landed like that, you can see Matt Neal pull away fractionally, because as long as the car's landed and straight, it's driving forward. It's a bit like keeping your skis on the snow when you're skiing. You can't go faster if the car's not on the ground.
Yep, that's right, so you don't want to be too much in the air. Shedden still close to the back of his teammate's car. Hear it climbing out of the hairpin.
No wheel spin at all, though, even though he goes over that curb on the inside, which should make the inside wheel light. The differential's keeping both wheels driving. No rise in revs as he does that on full throttle.
No, that's right, good point. And it just drives it up the hill beautifully. And as you were saying earlier, the way the suspension on these cars soaks up the bumps around Knockhill really is remarkable. There's an awful lot of work goes into the damper technology on these cars, and you can see it so clearly here at Knockhill more than anywhere. Stephen Kane has just broken away a fraction there from Tom Chilton on this lap. Chilton himself coming under pressure from the blue car of Jason Plato in the Silver Line Chevrolet there. Still being patient though, Plato, which is probably his best choice at this stage.
Yeah, I mean, all these guys are making small driving mistakes on every lap at different points. And, you know, that's just the nature of the circuit, as we said. But it does keep the racing very close together. Kane very close behind. Was there contact?
I don't know, whisper, maybe just a touch. Plato's got a chance, you're on board with him. And he's got a chance to get the overlap here on Tom Chilton. This could be a change of position for fourth place. Across the line they go. He's got the inside line into the first corner. And Plato has done it. His patience has paid off and he's through.
Yeah, it's time to push on now, definitely, I think, for Jason. He wants to get maximum and most amount of points possible out of this race, and it was time to push on.
Yeah, he timed that beautifully, and no way that Tom Chilton could battle that. Perhaps the tyres going off a little bit more on the LPG-powered car. Meanwhile, top three are still welded together. Stephen Kane trying to join in the party with those two Hondas, trying to stop it being a Honda 1-2 in this one. Can the Airwaves driver squeeze through? We're on lap 23 out of 27. We've still got a few laps to go. Which one of them's going to crack? How can they hold on racing this hard, this tight, and now Plato, as you say, definitely getting involved.
Yeah, I mean, he's caught up to the back of Kane in the space of one lap. He's closed a couple of car lengths, so I do think Plato's now trying to utilise his car's strength, no weight on that car, and weight on all 3 cars in front of him.
Yeah, so the Silver Line car beginning to look very much more aggressive. Follow Stephen Kane, you're on board with him. Kane has to go a little bit tight into the Scotsman right-hander. Could be a chance, not quite there for Plato. Sometimes you can just nudge the nose down the inside, but he's rattling Kane now a little bit. That's what he wants to do. Yeah,
look how they've dropped back from the 2 Hondas the moment Kane came under attack.
Yeah, absolutely right. And Stephen now having to watch his mirrors. In the background, Paul O'Neill was running a bit wide, but he has got that gap down a bit, Paul O'Neill. It was 2.3 seconds a few laps ago. It's now down to a 1.5 seconds behind the group. Again, it's a difference in lines between the 2 Hondas. There's O'Neill definitely closing that gap a bit now.
Yeah, no question. Wouldn't have he liked a safety car earlier in this race to bring them back to the front, but great scrap really between these top, 6 cars now.
So 3 laps to go, and still it's Neil from Shedden. You're on board with Gordon Shedden down through the Sayre curve into Scotsman right-hander. Difference in line again there as Matt Neal goes in on the tighter line. No real change in performance. Watch them up. Who's going to clip the inside there? Both of them aggressive over the curve, sliding and just getting back on the tarmac before they end up in the gravel.
Yeah, Matt's just about got the measure now, I think, maybe of Gordon. I don't know, maybe that. Oh, Plato's all over the back of Jackson now.
Yeah, he's got a chance here to get past Stephen Kane. Kane going really tight to the inside now. He's got to defend that inside line. Plato's giving him a bit of a nudge, nudge, nudge. Wink, wink, wink. He's through. He is through. He's into 3rd place. And Stephen Kane, not a lot he can do about that. And Tom Chilton's going to try and do the same.
Yeah, that was Plato just up the back, just inching Kane on a couple of feet too wide and slipping through on the inside. You could see the wheels locked up. Kane just couldn't stop the car.
And look at this, Stephen Kane's going to lose another place. Oh, that's so unfair that it goes wrong. Oh, no! He hits O'Neill. What a mess and what a shame, because we've been enjoying such a great race up there.
He's going to keep that going. He's going to keep that going. Very gentle throttle control. Can you imagine the self-discipline not to jump on the throttle and spin the wheels up and bury it? But Paul kept that going very well.
Hey, I don't think he lost another place, did he? They were so far ahead of the next group of cars. Meanwhile, battle for the win is still on between Matt Neal and Gordon Shedden. No team orders applying between these two, but it's brought Plato into 3rd now. Chilton is in 4th position, so he survived that little incident. But what a shame that we had that coming together, because it was all building up so beautifully. Onto the final lap, there's really no threat now for Honda. They are surely going to make it 2 out of 2. It's just a question of which Honda perhaps gets across the line first. You've got to put your money on Matt Neal at the moment, who seems to be soaking up all the pressure from his teammate.
Yeah, Gordon's not going to do anything silly here. Honda Racing 1-2 is a great result for the team and for Honda, and they've both driven very, very well. And I think they'll just bring this home. You never know. But Plato's damage limitation exercise has worked out. He's come up to 3rd.
Yep.
Just the sort of result he wanted.
Yep.
But a little bit of controversy involved in that.
Yeah, but that's right. We'll have to wait and see if there's any decisions made. But here we go, down into the real radio hairpin for the final time. Gordon Shedden's going to try and look for the good exit, but it's not going to be enough. It is going to be his teammate, former double champion Matt Neal, who takes a victory here for the first time in 4 years since Matt Neal won at Knockhill. He takes the win. It's a 1-2 for Honda. Well done to the Honda Racing team. Plato takes 3rd. Chilton comes home in 4th place. Stephen Kane does survive to finish 5th. Despite the spin. Jackson finishes 6th, his teammate right behind him. Onslow Cole in 7th, Jordan in 8th, McDowell in 9th, and Paul O'Neill, well, he did get passed by a few, of course, but he did end up finishing in 10th place.
Well, Paul O'Neill will be hoping that the top 10 are reversed and he can be on pole for the final race, because he deserved a little bit more out of that race, I'm sure.
Yeah, that was bitterly disappointing. Let's take a look. This was Paul O'Neill's view here, Tim. Take a look.
Yeah, Stephen Kane side by side, getting tagged there by Chilton, and unfortunately Paul O'Neill just the complete innocent victim of that.
Wrong place, wrong time, and off into the gravel. And yeah, the car's going past him there, but he did drop down to 10th, so still in the points. And we couldn't see into his eyes, unfortunately, probably just as well to see what he wasn't mouthing at that point. But anyway, it's a win for Matt Neal, and the Hondas, as expected, have shown great form here at Knockhill. and are really putting themselves back in the championship hunt, but by finishing in third place, Jason Plato is sort of keeping them under control. He's maintaining a very decent gap at the points, and that's exactly what he needs to do from his point of view.
And that's because Jason's car is strong on all circuits. You know, the Honda struggled at Snetterton and Silverstone, but Jason was still there then. You know, and so his car is strong at every circuit, and that's why he's able to keep getting good results and keep his points.
Yep, that's right. So solid performance by him there. It's Matt Neal that takes victory in the second race of the day at Knockhill from Gordon Shedden, with Jason Plato third. Tom Chilton in fourth place ahead of Stephen Kane. Matt Jackson, his Airwaves teammate, right behind. Then Tom Onslow Cole, Andrew Jordan, Alex McDowell and Paul O'Neill. Outside the top 10, we saw James Nash, Andy Neat, John George and Tom Boardman, then Jeff Smith and Sean Hollenby. And poor old Rob Collard and Dave Pinkney went off on the first lap. So let's see what that means in terms of the standings. Jason Plato still leading the way in the points. Matt Neal, though, has come back into second. Remember how Tom Onslow Cole was second starting today? Well, he's now been pushed down to fourth because both the Honda entries have got past him. And then we've got Team Aon in there together with Stephen Kane in sixth, with the two Airwaves cars actually together. And then Paul O'Neill, Rob Collard and Andrew Jordan completing the top 10. So